Hello, everyone. It is my great pleasure to introduce our next conference speaker, Jyoti Ma, Dr. Janine Pravat. Jyoti Ma is an internationally renowned spiritual teacher. She has cultivated various projects that demonstrate the ways of life that honor the earth and all peoples. She is the grandmother vision keeper of the Center for Sacred Studies and co-founded Kayumari with spiritual communities both in America and Europe. She helped to convene the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers and the Unity Concert, and is the founder of The Fountain. She is a delegate of the Mother Earth Delegation of United Original Nations. Jyoti Ma is also a past president of the Spiritual Emergence Network. She has been recognized for her groundbreaking work as an honoree on the Spiritual Awakenings International Circle of Honor. And it is my great honor to consider Jyoti Ma both my spiritual sister and a friend. So with that, I turn it over to Jyoti Ma.
Oh, Yvonne, you know, we've been walking this way for a really long time. We got a little grayer, a little older, a few more wise wrinkles. But you know what, when I sat down to really contemplate what wanted to be said today inside this beautiful circle of Spiritual Awakening International and this gathering of people from so many countries that are bringing so much diversity to the table. But the one thing that we all share is this amazing intelligence that lives within each and every one of us that is waking itself in us so that we can become vehicles of service in this moment of great change, this very prophetic moment of change that we're all sharing on this planet of Mother Earth. And so I began to reflect upon that. I started thinking, just as you said, and was sharing some of my history, some of the work that the Mother has brought to me since she opened my container through a 13-year Kundalini awakening process that brought all different kinds of episodes and experiences that would inform me about spiritual emergence itself and the different kind of typologies that are common amongst those that are going through an awakening process. And I realized that some of what needed to happen right from the beginning of that process is that it brought us back to listening, to deeply listening first to ourselves and to kind of come back to ourselves, remembering that we have our own inner authority and something loudly living in us is knocking at the door and pushing that door open. And then I realized that as I sat with hundreds of thousands of people at this part of my life, because I'm in my middle 70s now, I've been walking this way for over four decades. I realized that one of that deep listening process had to get activated for me to sit with others that were going through an emergence process and honor their own authority in that process. Because if we honor that process and listen to it and follow it, then it brings us to that next level of presence in our being and that next level of awakening that we can access in that realm. And then as I reflected a little deeper, I realized that, you know, this Mother Earth is a being, and she is going through a great awakening process right now. And so I want to start off by just sharing with you a little video that my dear friend Jeremy with Treetops Production has made that really speaks to, are we listening?
Benedicti. Gilch cacht gus mó siol na drú.
Gratitude for this opportunity to be here in this incarnation upon this planet. Gratitude to the gift of life we've been given, to all our ancestors lined up behind us. We are the reality of their dreaming.
Let us come together in one mind, as one heart and one body. Ay, ay.
Hatun apo kamba ursa tami manyani. Sumak yuaita, sumak shungutan yukanchik takui.
My name is Jyoti. I'm one of the wisdom keepers, an amazing circle of beings that have come from all different parts of the world because we were called here. Our First Nation peoples have a way of life that is sacred and has been given to them by this Mother Earth and Father Sky, and it is the remedy of this time. That I am sure of.
Personas que viven con la nueva tecnología es que están muy separados de la naturaleza. Hace que no puedan tener ese viaje con el corazón, la mente y el espíritu.
それを教えていたのが先住民族であり、長老たちであり、シャーマンたちでした。本当にその意味を知ってる人たちがもう隠れていないでもっと表に出てきた。
Our mother is crying. She is literally crying to her children for help.
So the message that she brings today is, are you listening?
Allow yourself to feel.
La contaminación de los ríos, la contaminación de los océanos, el fuego en la Amazonía. Los desastres naturales están viniendo. ¿Cómo es posible la gente no puede sentir o ver eso?
We are listening. You have called us to wake up in this time. Help us stay strong so we can march forward now on a planet with one heart.
We're able to feel through direct experience what it's like to come together like our ancestors once came together, to reflect, to pray, to listen.
Es por eso los indígenas estamos viajando a muchos lugares para poder ayudar, para que la gente pueda conectarse con la naturaleza y especialmente con su corazón.
So I just want to put this thought out there and stimulate everyone. Are you listening? I want to say that we are in a 26,000 year cycle ending time. Evolution marches that way, I'm told. And I learned about this path when I was in India with my teacher, Dhyan Yogi, who gave me my name and was an amazing, beautiful being that awoke me to so much in my life that I'm still practicing today. I remember when I went on a pilgrimage around India for about 6 weeks, I went and sat with many sages. And when I'd go in some of their ashrams or their sacred places, there would be a clock on the wall. And from 12 to 1 would be 2,500 years. And from 1 to 2 would be another 2,500 years. And the clock would turn itself all the way around for 26,000-year cycle. And on that very last sliver of that time was dark. And they called it the Kali Yuga, the time where the ending, as the Kogi would say, the ending falls into the beginning. And we're right there. We're right there right now. And aren't we lucky that we heard this call and this waves of awakening came moving and marching through things to wake us all up so that we could participate in this prophetic moment from Mother Earth herself. For she's in an ascension process, you see. She's going to be moving from this cycle of 26,000 years, and she's opening to the new cycle of 26,000 years, where they say that first 5,000 will be a great time of light. It will be a time that starts her in her next march of learning, so she too can evolve. Many of my elders that I have met on my path along this way, my original people, those are the ones I turn to because they have this unbroken relationship with Mother Earth. It's been unbroken from the original times, and they've marched through perilous, challenging systems that wanted to completely annihilate our original people, but their strength of character, their courage, and their dedication, and that line that's been unbroken is standing with us now at the world table. And what we're being asked to do is declare our own solidarity, to come back to the roots of who our ancestors are, and bring those threads to the world table and declare them, speak them out. And then our original people from all around this planet, the original caretakers of Mother Earth, have been given the prophecies, have been given a way of preparing us and instructing us in these times. So as we begin to understand the interrelatedness of it all, it brings us back to a unified being of oneness in ourselves. And it all happens through the awakening process. You see, it's like evolution marching. And as she marched, as I'm just looking back at the decades I have been marching with her, every decade there was another wave of awakening that took place. I got to see some of that when I was the director of the Spiritual Emergence Network that Ivana was talking about, and then later chaired it. And during those times, we were really on a cusp of things because nobody believed us. They thought we were all crazy. They were giving electric shocks to people that were going through this. And thank the goodness and the good heart of this creator, because we had some amazing doctors that got together and that we supported as they got this included in the DSM-4 for the very first time, so that it was not seen as psychosis, but it was understood that it was a spirit, they called it a spiritual problem. So I'm not sure who the problem is for, because we have to reflect on that another time. But what I want to just, bring a voice and a witness to is that we were able, so that now in general rounds in San Francisco, they are teaching about these kinds of episodes that people can go through so that they don't go through electric shock, that they're listened to. As I began to reflect upon all this, I thought, well, so what have I learned how to listen to as I came back, as I remembered that relationship with myself, with the spirit of myself, with the intelligence of nature that lives in myself? I had to first really honor my body. I had to come back to an understanding of my body. And during my own 13 years of my awakening process, that body needed very different things in order to completely reorganize itself, completely open itself to the full potential of what it is and who it is and why it's here, why it's this sacred temple that our spirit, when our body is fully opened, our spirit can step inside and move in this creation through awareness. So I had to listen to my body. At certain points in times, I had doctors that were looking at my diets and helping me look at my nutrition. I had acupuncturists that were helping the energies that were so strong with the Kundalini to be able to be balanced so that I could walk every day and accomplish what I needed to in my daily needs, as well as opening to this amazing experience that was transcending anything that I had ever known before. But it was bringing me back to myself. And then I had to go and unpack all those things in my emotional body, all the things that my own karmic patterns, walking through life in a very, a world that was still so unconscious, and was making practices and putting, enculturating in me understandings that just were not true. Understandings that were just out of alignment with that alignment of self and soul. I had to be humble enough to sit down and unpack all that and look in that mirror of truth at myself. So I could come to understand myself, I could heal myself, and I could really come home to myself for the first time. Not out of idea of what my parents or my culture said I needed to be, but more out of an understanding of the uniqueness of my own authenticity. And that would bring me then to a calling, to making that relationship with my spiritual body. It would require that I would come and find my spiritual seat so that I could actively get involved in mindful practices, that I could actively find that place that spoke to and fed the spirit of who I am, so that I could nourish that part of my own being once again, because she was so dry and she was so thirsty for this level of understanding to arrive. And that would cultivate a great trust and restore a deep faith in myself, for the self itself, for that intelligence that dreamed us into being here to begin with. And it was through all of that walk then that I would be brought to my mission in my life, what my soul came here to do. I had no idea that it was going to open the way that it has. It's been a complete surprise. It was nothing that I had aspiration to do at all. In fact, if anything, I have so much regard for the original people of this planet and a way of life that they have inside themselves, living inside themselves, a way of life that honors all life, that's built on the original principles of collaboration and reciprocity, heart, unity, and all life is sacred. It activates compassion, tolerance, kindness. These are the original principles that are the foundation of that way of life that they brought here, that the Mother Earth herself gave the protocol and instruction so that we could maintain that kind of life, that way of life. And they're still here today because of that teaching, those deep, deep teachings. So when I apply that then to the Mother Earth, I start to look at first, it really I became very aware about the Mother Earth and what she's telling us she needs. Are we listening? This became so obvious to me when Floyd was killed, and the chant that went around the world was, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And then a pandemic came, and the chant that went around the world was, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And suddenly, like a light went on, I could hear Mother Earth shouting to us, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. If we listen to her, and if we listen to those that know how to speak with her, to dialogue with her, to receive the instructions of what she needs to go through her own spiritual emergence process, won't we all be the better for that? When we listen to our own selves and honor that deep intelligence that of nature that lives in us and that is guiding this awakening process in every single one of us, when we do that, won't she be better for it? For you see, we're interconnected beings. Many of my elders, especially I'll mention Rita Blumenstein, who was one of the grandmothers on the Council of International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. She was Yupik, lived up in the cold country of Alaska. And she would tell us that we had been learning how to live in these chakras, these lower chakras. We were learning about our own animal instinct of survival. And that's where the Mother Earth had brought us. She'd grown us to this place. And now they said we were going to be jumping into the heart region together. For it would be the first time that when she stepped into her heart, she would begin her ascension process that would take us to that full awakening. So that for the first time, she said, we were going to be experiencing the beingness of our human beings for the first time. She said when those original days were there, that all the birds were white. And when we had to go into this teaching of survival and that animalistic kind of need for our bodies to understand themselves better, she said that's when the birds started turning black. And when we would start that ascension process into the heart, the birds would turn white again. And she told me this 15 years ago, and the birds were already starting to turn white. So this is that moment that the elders have said is coming. This is that moment. And we've all come to say yes in it. I want to tell you, too, of a bit of a story, because as the earth herself goes through changes, she goes through dramatic, big changes. One of those changes that took place, I'm going to bring you to so you understand a prophecy that myself and my community have been walking with for many, many years, for a long time now, probably about 15 years. We've been working with the Eagle Condor prophecy. And we were brought into this understanding by, there was a time, I'm going to shorten it, so please excuse me for that, but just because of time essence here. But I felt it was important for you to understand when the prophecy got activated. The prophecy tells us that there was a time when North America, South America, and Central America were all one piece of land. And then there was a great shaking on the earth, a big earth shifting on the earth, and that got torn apart. So there was North America, Central America, and South America. And they say that when this happened, the peoples got torn apart too. They said that in the north, it was the land of the eagle. And the eagle was going to oversee the energies of the mind and of fire. And it was going to move strongly around this planet. And the south was the land of the condor. The land of the condor is the land of heart. And that was going to become strong, and it was going to start moving. There'd come a time when the eagle would almost push down the condor. And at that moment, they would choose to fly together. And when that took place, this moment of the eagle condor prophecy was upon us. Now, some of you may have heard about the Kogi. They prefer to be called the Kagaba Nation. They're the people of Colombia. There are 4 original peoples there in Colombia. And we've been working with them for over a decade with 3 of the 4 original people. and most recently, the Kogi. So when we first caught this vision of the fountain, which was to restore an economic model that was based on reciprocity and collaboration and guided by nature and the sacred, that's when we went down to Colombia to speak to them. And as we began to speak to them about what was that vision that we had caught about this economic model, one that wasn't just based on money, but was looking at the economy of life in its totality, that then that we said, I want to listen. If I haven't caught this vision correctly, then we'll go home. But they listened, and they took us up in the mountains, and they went into full consultation, and they told us it was time for this vision to be activated and that they wanted to be a part of it too. Now, the Kogi, they have the sagas and the mamos. And the mamos are the men and the sagas are the women. And when a mamo is going to be born, because they come in with this very expanded consciousness, then they are either the mother and father are through conception going through ceremonial work, or they're seen when they're in utero and ceremony is done, or they're seen when they're birthed and they're caught. And once they are coming in with this level of consciousness, then they're taken into the caves where they do not see the light of day until they're 9 years old. When they're 9 years old, they are brought out of the caves and they go through a set of exams, if you will, to see if this consciousness has fully awakened itself. And if it hasn't, then they go back in the caves until they're 18. And I've worked with some that were in the caves for 28 years. So you can imagine the level of consciousness. And when they go into consultation, they can go in for 3 or 5 or 10 days or longer. They are completely absorbed by the source. And they do not eat, sleep, or drink water during this time of consultation. So the way that the fountain has brought itself into being, and it's 10 years old now, is that we would go to them. They would go into consultation. They would bring the instruction of the earth. We would walk that instruction out. We would hold ceremony of gratitude to give thanks for what we had learned as we took this walk. We would go back for their consultation. And this is how we walked all this time to develop what we've done now, what we've brought into place right now. And so what happened was 30, 40 years ago, there's a movie called Aluna that you can all go look at. I think it's on Netflix. And it tells the story about when the 4 original people were brought out, were given this instruction by the mother herself, that little brother was getting lost and that they needed to come down and bring her instruction and help them remember themselves once again. And so that's what they did. A great sacrifice because they were living high up in the La Sierra Nevadas. They had not been discovered by the West at all. In fact, there are still many of them that live high up in the La Sierras and have not been touched by the West at all. I'm in deep collaboration with them now because they're moving strongly with this instruction from Mother Earth about what to do. So I wanted to bring their voice in here to you because they made this video as a message to all of you and to all those inhabiting this beautiful Mother Earth. So I wanted to share that with you next, if I could.
Yeah.
So those are these beautiful, beloved beings that I've come to learn from, and I'm so humbled by all the time. One of the things that they tell us, and all of the original people I work with globally, because I work with a lot of different nations at this point, and I'll introduce you also to the Mother Earth delegation of United Original Nations, which you can go and look and Google and see who they are. They're representatives from different parts of the planet. And it came together when I had been called to help to curate the second of 3-day conference in London. And the second day was going to be in honor of the mother. So I had asked some of the grandmothers, and they had also sent some of their granddaughters so that we could hold ceremony in the morning, at noon, and in the evening to really honor the mother's waters, and to bring that awareness into the work. That there were probably about 100 delegates of original people from all around the planet, and several other hundred that had been invited from our Western world, so they could listen to what the elders said the earth was needing and put their resources behind that motion and get it into motion. It was the third morning, very early in the morning. And it was like we had just heard that 2.5 tons of radioactive waters from Fukushima were being poured in the ocean. And I'm told that almost that amount every day happens now. We were also told that more fires were being set in the Amazon, the lungs of this earth. And it was like this bolt of lightning struck down inside this little cup of people. And with this, and one of the grandmothers was my Ori, and she was dressed in her traditional regalia, and she went into a full traditional call to action. When we all heard this mandate, declare your solidarity and return the original caretakers to my sacred sites, my sacred territories, and it must be done now. And the reason for that instruction, as I have come to understand it, is our sacred sites around the planet are like, if you could imagine that your organs and your acupuncture points that keep your organs open and healthy and activated so your whole body can be in good health and strong. And that's like the sacred sites are to the Mother Earth. And they've had churches put on top of these sacred sites. They've had them fenced off because the Mother Earth gave ceremony to her original people, so those sites could be actively fed and cared for, so that reciprocity would always keep them alive and breathing strongly. And now we've taken that away around the planet for a lot of different reasons. And so right now, a lot of our movement with our original people is in this motion to preserve those last remaining biocultural, dynamic, diverse regions that are literally why we're still all breathing together here as human beings. You see, the earth is going to evolve. Don't you worry. But will we, as a human species, come along on that journey? That's the real question. And so what the Kogis gave us was a prophecy of the eagle condor. They said that the ending would fall into the beginning in 2026. In 2026. They told us this. I was brought together with a small group of original people in Colombia in 2013, and that's when they activated this part of the prophecy. They said we would be entering a 13-year, very deep, cleansing, purifying time, which is the moment we're in right now that you're all witnessing and experiencing. So that they said it was important as the ending fell down that we observe it, that we witness it so we can stay informed, but to pay attention and keep our focus on that which was breaking through. And that which was breaking through would be carried on those original principles that I mentioned: collaboration, reciprocity, heart, unity, and all life is sacred. That was what would take us through the keyhole and into the new dawn. that new cycle of 26,000 years that I spoke about briefly at the beginning of this talk with you. So we were prepared. We were through the ceremonial work that they did with us, through the teachings and the coming back to a memory of a way of life that honored all life and all the diversity of this life. That knew, this wisdom knew and knows that when we go through those awakening processes, and each of you are here because something's gone on in your world that awakened something. Maybe it was more gentle, maybe it was more loudly done, maybe it was more subtle, maybe it was a shout out through you to your family, to your community, to the world around you, and those gifts that you are now activating in order to be able to serve this amazing moment of prophecy, this amazing moment where the mother herself steps into her ascension process. And we all came here knowing how to assist a turning time, because this is not the first time she's gone through this process. They say this is the sixth extinction moment. So she's been through this before. She knows how to do this. Can we deeply listen out of a regard for her and all of life itself? Can we be those that have been called into be fully activated light bringers? It's not an easy task. It's a strong road. But what makes it so amazing is that we get to sit in circles just like this one. We get to be this transparent with one another. We get to speak honestly about what it looks like for us and with us. The things we understand, the wisdom that starts flowing out of us that we get to witness and hear at the same time somebody else does. Or that moment when our humanness gets so present in ourselves because we stumble. Or we run into a place that we're not sure what to do with. But we have elders in this circle. And that those relationships with each other and with youth, the ones that are coming behind us, that are counting on us to tend to what we came to do so they can do what they came to do. And I'm all lit up about the youth that are coming behind us. I'm amazed at their clarity and their vision. And they don't mix words. And I know that sounds like a paradox in the moment we're all sitting in right now on this planet, because it's all falling down. So, you know, this for me is what my original people have helped me remember about myself, have helped me walk a way of life with my entire community, because this is when we first came together as Kayamari, our spiritual community, and we intentionalized that walk in 1995 up on top of a tip top of a mountain in the Sierra foothills of California. We had no idea what we were doing. We were so innocent in ourselves. We had no idea. What we did know is that we were going through a process that was shaking us up. It was helping us look at all those things I mentioned earlier. It was making us have to tend to our bodies in a very different way and to come back to honoring them as these amazing temples of life they are. It helped us get the courage to go and not only unpack those issues in our emotional bodies, but to look collectively together at it. And then to sit down in our spiritual seat and take a deep breath in and commit to something for longevity. We decided we did not want to, we were stepping out of the world of throwaway society, where when something gets old and you don't need it anymore, you just throw it away. whether that's a car or a washing machine or a relationship. We decided we wanted to commit ourselves as a community and walk in longevity, so that when we got to that white water time on the river of life, that we would not jump out of the boat, that we would lean into each other and move through that challenge so that we could become more mature, so that we could understand deeper. And so now I'm here with the community that's been walking together for 4 decades, where the babies were born in my bathtub up on top of that mountain, have now finished college and off they're gone with these levels of understanding inside themselves. It's not been easy. It's you have to have courage of heart for sure. But we get to lean into this community like this one and help each other, fortify each other, and unify with each other, because now that's the current underneath the boat in the life river. We must come into a unification process. All my elders are talking about that. Right now, we're in high ceremonial time. They're in many different places around this planet honoring the solstice, which is just about to come. Honoring this change in seasons, following this instruction of bringing cultures together, like since I've been working now with the Kogi, up the ones that I call at the top of the world, way up there, that still are not interconnecting with the West at all. We've been brought into a relationship to create a platform so that they can bring their messages out to the world, because they say it is time now for them to educate the awakening. To educate the awakening. So I'm humbled. I'm really, really humbled that I get to sit here that way. And I'm always learning. I'm always learning. So much to learn. But did I have an aspiration for any of this? No. I just tried to open myself and practice the ultimate spiritual practice, which is to be fully present here and now, to stay in the present moment, to watch when my mind wanted to leave that present moment and run ahead, because when it did that, it usually wanted to get me, I'd get scared. Or if my mind left the present moment and it went back behind me, then I'd bring regret. But if I allowed myself to stay fully in this present moment, then the mother herself brought everything into that moment I needed for the alchemy of my own awakening process. And when I embraced what she brought me, and sometimes that was such a big challenging moment, or such a sweet, awe-inspiring moment, or everything in between, it was her and the alchemy of her doctoring my moment, so that I could feed this awareness and allow this awareness to bring me into more expanded understandings and presence. So my full authenticity could present itself. And that truly is why we put on skin to come here and make the walk anyway, right? So yes, did I go looking for any of this? Absolutely not. Did I end up meeting some of the most delicious, amazing, beautiful people along this path? Absolutely. Is every day a mystery? I would say so. Because when you stay in your present moment, you get up in the moment and in the morning and you say a prayer of gratitude for that first star, that early star, that morning star that announces the day is coming, so the Father Sun can bring the light of day, so we can stand up inside that light and bring our full presence into skin and walk in this creation and serve it. So I'm very curious, you see. I'm very curious to see what shifts and changes through this purification moment, this churning moment that we're going to go through. And we still got a few more years before we finish the cleanse. And then that next present moment with the Mother Earth is going to present itself. Can we all meet her in that present moment? Can we still our minds? Can we open our hearts? And can we embrace the present moment of her ascension? It's a story still to be told. Yeah. So I just want to sit and reflect and see if there's anything else she wants to bring into the awareness of our day. I really would love to maybe even open a little bit earlier for any questions, Ivana, because I love the exchange of ideas and the wisdom that's sitting here at this table with us today. And I bet there's insights maybe that they would like to present too that might add to the mix of what I've been sharing here today, or even if it resonates with any of you.
Awesome. Well, I thank you, Jyoti Ma. All right, we will open early for questions, and feel free to answer in whatever way Spirit inspires you to answer. We have a series of questions, many comments saying how the videos were really beautiful and heart-touching. Dana has a question about the second video you shared. I believe that was with the Kogi. She said, I see everyone in the second video seems to be wearing white. Is there any significance to that?
They do. That's all they wear. And they make all their own clothes. And the village that you were in through that video is at what I call the top of the world. They're still high in the La Sierra and undisturbed. And white includes all things. But they haven't told me more than that. The children and the men and the women only wear white. So, Dian Yogi put me in white, all white. I've been in all white now for about 35 years. So when I met a whole nation of people that was that way, there was a coming home inside myself on a whole nother level. So you never know how things are going to go. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right.
Okay. Anna Cecilia says, your work is amazing. Thank you. You brought enlightenment to my life. How many of these communities are still out there without being discovered by the world? She'd like to know.
Well, I can only share with you the ones that I've met, and those are with the 4 original people that are still high in the La Sierra, Nevada. I'm receiving instruction. In fact, I'll be on a Zoom call where many of them are going to come down part way where they can, because they have the youth that are bridging these worlds, and they're the ones that will get them on Zoom. They're the ones that are learning, because with the Kogi, or with each of these different nations there, they have their own dialect, their own language, and then it gets translated into Spanish, and then it gets translated into English. And so they are in the moment right now because the Sundance is coming. And what we discovered was that they also have a Sundance. And they really, really wanted to come over to the Black Hills, to the Sundance that I'll be going to. I leave next Friday. To my grandmother's sister, Loretta of Freda Bear Cook, and her husband, Tom, have run a Sundance for many, many decades, and it's in their line of the Oglala Sioux. So they wanted to come there, and they wanted to make this exchange, to make these relationships through that sacred tree of the Sundance. Their Sundance is very different, I'm told. But because of government-ish stuff, we couldn't get their visas. They were normally can travel on a tourist visa, but the government told them they couldn't get their visas until 2025. So we went trying to seek another way. In fact, we're listening to Mother's instructions. We're opening a whole nother level of dialogue up in the north, in the Baltic countries, in the Arctic, because there is a great siege to try to come into Greenland and into those areas to extract and to harm those very significant biocultural regions that are keeping this earth breath moving like it does. I'm told that there are some of these people are already coming in and cultivating the permafrost, which will speed up the warming. Also told, coming back to that Sundance, that they've gone into consultation and they've been working with Father Sun because he's moving out of his normal location and getting closer to Mother Earth, and she's asked them to intervene and ask him to please get back in his right position because the heat is too much for her. And they did this work, and then all of a sudden the weather, all the temperatures dropped. Everybody was experiencing much cooler season. So the feedback is pretty direct and once these things go on. But they're making this collaboration through the spirit realm, since they can't physically stand together in the Black Hills. They're going to continue doing this work with their ceremony and with the Oglala Sioux ceremony. And through this high season, there are elders high up in the mountains and deep into the waters and the ocean, carrying prayers and what they call pagamentos, these pilgrimages that take these requests and start to work with the Mother and the forgiveness of what we've done out of our unconsciousness, and the prayer of gratitude for the awakening that's also amongst us right now.
Wow, thank you, Jyoti. Incredible answer. Maria is asking for your insight on how we can better balance the material life with a life protecting Mother Earth.
That's such a good question. And, it's one I'm still studying. I think the first place we've got to do is we've really got to get honest with and be humble enough to look in the mirror of truth. And part of what my elders are helping us with right now is to really look at, not out of a blame and judgment space at all, but more out of a understanding of how we got here and where we are, and to decolonize ourselves. Because we've been brought into, a long time ago, there was, I'll just tell you another little story. In the late 1400s, there was the Pope sent out his priests and other minions to go into countries that had never been discovered by them before. And they were told in this letter called the Papal Bulls that when they went into these countries, they might come upon people, but they were less than human, and they needed to be brought into the church, and they need to let go of their own culture and ways and learn to speak their language and be assimilated, if you will. That led to the genocide of our First Nation peoples around the planet. That moved us into, that was the first time too, when they killed many of the people and took their land. It was the first time land was seen as a possession, as an object. So it was a time in the culture that led us into more of that materialistic kind of way of valuing life, instead of that more holistic understanding that all life is sacred. So we were cut from the spirit of ourselves, and we began to objectify. And so once we began to objectify and put value through money instead of value through heart and gift of self, then we moved into this colonizing way of thinking and generating ourselves. But now we are starting to pop awake out of that and go, whoa, what were we thinking? Wow, we got pulled off here. We went on a detour of a journey, and we cut something off that we need to restore and repair and regenerate. And so a lot of what we're doing right now with our work is going into these different areas to restore and regenerate. And we have to start at home with that place that got cut in us when we got cut from the spirit of life. And that's what awakening does. It opens that, we know that wound, and we have to go into that wound, however it got dispersed to. Everyone got it. Everyone of all nations got this moment. So now we're here and we're waking out of it. And our prophecies are shaking, and the earth is going through her cleansing, and she's making people, I mean, even 10 years ago, people were still saying, climate change, what are you talking about? You know, what do you mean mystical experience? What are you talking about? What do you mean Kundalini? What are you talking about? All of these have been part of that which we got cut from, you see. So these kind of discussions are how we will begin to restore and regenerate a cultural foundation that's based on those original principles. And that changes how we economize life. I don't know if that touched on your question in the right way, but I'll at least plant that seed and water it a little bit.
It was a profound answer. Thank you, Jyoti Ma. All right, Julianne has a question, which is, will you tell us about the pink boat in the video that says, tell the truth?
Yes. Extinction. There was a movement over in UK that many of you probably heard about. It was the Extinction Revolution, if you will, and it was led by mostly by the younger people that really erupted around what was happening when we were not thinking about our waters, or we were not thinking about our air, or we were not making decisions that thought about anything other than the immediate one we were in. You see, our original people, basic to their way of life is, if they're going to go cut down that tree over there, they're going to go into council about it. They're going to go into ceremony about it. They're going to examine how would that affect the seventh generation from now? You know, if we took that kind of decision-making moment, we'd have a very different moment amongst us, but we don't. We're immediate in our consumption. Our community had a home in the Brazilian Amazon for 22 years. They call the Western people there the termite people, because everywhere they go, they consume, they eat it up. So we gotta take a moment and step back out of that kind of consumption. Even going into meditation or going into spiritual practices of what am I going to get out of it? It's that still indoctrinated extraction attitude. So we have to really be able to say, oh, I see that in me, not to judge it, not to blame it or guilt it or anything, just to see it for what it is and choose. I'm just going to sit right here, and what Creator's going to bring me is going to be the most significant thing I could have ever asked for. I know people say to me, Jyoti, but how did you plan? They think I had a plan. I have no plan. I have never had a plan. I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'll just tell you that. And I'll end with one other little story. I think I have time to I think we have a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. But this is a practice. You know, you practice, life gives you everything in that present moment. Just remember that part. And we were on our way to meet with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because, you know, the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, we got the honor to walk with them for almost a decade. We were helping raise the monies and organize all their events and all their gatherings and all of that kind of thing. And they had decided that each of them was going to host the council in their home place. That was how we get to make relations with each other. That was how we would get to know each other's differences and our diversity of culture. And so we were on our way. Grandmother Sering Gathong was hosting that year. We were about 6 weeks out, and I still needed another $65,000. So I'd get up in the morning, and here would be the bad angel on this shoulder. Said, and if you don't get the money raised, it's going to be your fault that the grandmothers don't get to go sit with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And on this shoulder was the good angel. It would just say, just breathe, just breathe. So I was in the stressy moment of holding this tension. And I got a message given to me that I needed to sit down, that there was a mantra coming. And so I went and sat in my meditation, and I got this mantra. I am the Divine Mother. She lives in me, and everything she needs comes to me easily. So I'm going to pass it on to you, which means I'm going to say it. And then if y'all quietly say it to yourselves, we have to do this 3 times, and then it's your mantra, and you can pass it on the same way to others. So I am the Divine Mother. She lives in me, and everything she needs comes to me easily. I am the Divine Mother. She lives in me, and everything she needs comes to me easily. I am the Divine Mother. She lives in me, and everything she needs comes to me easily. So I will just say that I'm using it right now because I'm getting ready to go. The Mother Earth delegation is going to be meeting in Upstate New York and having a storytelling festival. So you can go to our website, centerforsacredstudies.org, or to motherearthdelegation.com, or thefountain.earth, and sign up and come join us up there, or just join the movement, because it's not about buying a ticket, going to one event. It is about standing up and becoming part of the movement for this Mother Earth, so her people can continue the activities that I've been describing here today. So I want you to know we got to India. We met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and the last $10,000 that I needed was given to me by a princess in the hotel there. It works. So when you're not sure what to do, just take a moment and say this mantra, and it will get you out of the way so she can bring what she needs. And that puts you on a very different kind of focus realm with your life and what you carry in this life. At least I found it to be so.
Awesome. Oops, sorry, I accidentally removed you. There we go. Now we're both on here. That was phenomenal, Jyoti Ma. We have a couple more questions if you're willing to take them. Somebody would like to know, is there any resource online where we can read more about the prophecy of 2026? Or can you tell us a bit more? That's my personal question. This person tried to Google it and couldn't find anything online.
Well, you can go to thefountain.earth. We've got some of it up there. And we also have more videos and other kinds of things that share more of it. The Eagle Condor prophecy, and prophecy as I know it, because I didn't know I was this is one of those things I didn't have an idea I was going to be doing. It was all of a sudden our community waking up and realizing, whoa, we're in the middle of prophecy and we walk with prophecy. We're going to be instructed by prophecy, and it's going to help guide where we're to go next if we can stay in the present moment and follow it. And we discovered that when like I said, we had a home in the jungle in the Brazilian Amazon for 22 years, and I was bringing the the Peyote people down into Brazil to meet with the ayahuascanderos there. And after we came out of a ceremony with the Native American church there, that's when the elders started to tell us the prophecy of the eagle condor. And that was my first awareness. That's when they told us about how the earth's changes had shifted and moved. And that's what prepared us, knowing you're going into a 13-year cleanse is one thing on one level, and then getting into it is where the learning and the instruction lies. So I can't give you too much to feed the Western mind. I can tell you that I would encourage you, like I do when I'm working with anyone. That's a very good question. And so open a point of study. Have it be your point of study. And then many things will come to answer that question for you. And it won't be because you went looking for it. It'll be because you've attracted it to answer this point of study, to bring you deeper into an awareness and understanding that's not about an authority outside of yourself, but activates that authority within. So trying to think of other places. You could probably Google eagle condor prophecy and see what, I've never Googled it, so I don't know what would show up when you do that. But Siri might know more than one place. We have our sacred technology people that are now amongst us. But yeah, and I would say the most important part is to listen to your being. And if it's bringing you towards that prophecy, it's going to bring you to those that are walking with it. And that's how it will activate a knowing and understanding for you and with you. Awesome. I'm not trying to hedge your question. I'm just trying to be honest in the moment of how it works.
Awesome. We have one final question, which is, several people have commented on the beautiful mandala behind you. And would you like to share anything about it, or where they could get a similar one?
I'm trying to remember. This is White Tara behind me. She's got my back. And as the first of the year came about, I was told by Spirit that I needed to have a mandala around me for this year that we were going into. And so I would stay grounded and centered in the work. And I really don't remember where this one came from. You can go look up White Tara and mandala, and you can probably find, I went and it just came, and then I plucked it and I put it inside the Zoom, and it worked. I wish I could help you with that one better. It was one of those spontaneous moments.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Jyotima. So thank you, Jyotima, for a wonderful, wonderful, inspiring, moving, inspirational presentation. Somebody has put into the chat that there is actually a website about the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. So if people want to look in the chat, you can open that link. So thank you, Jyotima, for an absolutely wonderful, beautiful presentation, and my deep heartfelt gratitude for the work that you are doing with the original peoples. Deep respect.
Well, thank you. If you would, if anybody is interested too, you can go to the centerforsacredstudies.org and also to thefountain.earth, and the decolonization that one of our Yupik peoples has put together. It's an 8-week course on allyship, which I think is geared in the heart and a really important medicine for our time. And then come join us in New York for storytelling. We'd love, let's collaborate. I'm ready. Are you?
I am.
And thank you for what you're doing and how you're carrying something that's manifesting and galvanizing and stirring so much magic in this moment, that it's good medicine for our times. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti.